Hello everybody, a special car for you today. This is the infamous 190E 2.5 16 valve. And I say 2.5 16 valve with an emphasis because I'm standing here in the US and this car was never sold in the US. The 2.3 16 valve was sold in the US, but not the 2.5. The story behind this car: a 2.5 16 valve was the first car that I ever owned when I was 24, 25. I bought it in the UK. It was a G-Reg, second-hand, 1990 car. And when I retired, 30 years later, I decided that it was probably time to revisit the old darling. So I spent some time searching around for one of these cars. I didn't realise at the time that the car had never been sold in the US. So this car ended up actually coming from the UK, but it was actually originally sold and owned for 30 years in Japan. So I found this car in the UK and had it shipped over. The wonderful thing is, it's a left-hand drive car. It's got the original motor stickers on from Japan. So it's got Mercedes-Benz Japan here. It's got the equivalent of the AA or the AAA, which is the Japan Automobile Federation. Nice little sparkly badge there, which I think makes it really cool. What also makes it fantastic is that the car had one owner in Japan for 30 years and the car has only done 36,000 miles, and it's a 1991. Okay, so this thing is in absolutely perfect condition. So this car actually has exactly the same spec as the original car I had back in England in 1990. This really weird dog tooth sports check upholstery, which I thought at the time was hideous, but I couldn't afford the leather version, and now I think it's cool as hell now that every car pretty much has leather. Also, you'll notice that this is an automatic car. Most collectors, most enthusiasts want the manual version. When I was looking to source a car way back in the day, in the early 90s in the UK, I was terrified at the prospect of the dog leg gated shift that the car had, and I actually wanted to get an automatic, so that's what I've kind of gone for again. The interesting thing is, for those of you that have driven a Mercedes manual from this era, they're actually not that brilliant. So people rave about the dogleg manual, and sure as heck it's quirky, but it's not actually a brilliant gear shift. The one thing that it does have going for it though is it allows you to really rev the car out, which this old auto gearbox doesn't do so much. When we get on the road though, I'll show you a little trick that allows you to get around that and get a bit more sportiness out of the car. The car's fitted with air conditioning as standard. The interior is fantastic. The one challenge is that the thing is actually, because it's a Japanese spec model, the speedo is in kilometers, so I have to have a little app on my phone so I actually know what speed I'm going, because I can't calculate it that quickly. The one other little downside is, although it's got a very nice Technics radio here, it's also a Japanese spec, and I can't actually get any stations on this other than a gospel station from Alabama, because the FM frequencies are all different. So that's getting shifted in the next few months. So this is the infamous 2.5 16 valve engine. By the time we got to the 2.5 spec, no Cosworth badging. Mercedes didn't want that at the time. So although the thing was designed in concert with Cosworth, and it's got a lot of those Cosworth characteristics, it's got Mercedes-Benz only on the engine block. The other thing that I would draw your attention to, which was a repair that I had to get done when I got the car back, is this little bad boy here. This is one of the very first cars to have hydraulic self-leveling suspension. which for a 190 was, you know, fantastically elaborate and almost designed to go wrong by definition. There are kind of like these rubber cylinders that hold hydraulic fluid. The S-Class at the time had the similar kind of system, and those things just rot. So when I first got the car, it was bouncing around like you wouldn't believe. But fortunately, there's a wonderful vintage Mercedes repair shop quite close to where I am, and they did a fabulous job tuning this thing up and getting it running like brand new. So there you are, whirlwind tour of the 2.5 16 valve. Come around the back a second. It was the first car that I ever owned. First car I ever dated the wife in. First love. See ya. Hello, so here we are in the 190 2.5 16 valve. Little bit of driving for you. I'm going to do a few little things here, just messing around the houses here, and then I'm going to show you, you know, pushing it a little bit on the back roads. I thought this was like the fastest car in the world in 1990. Now you realise it's a 30-year-old car and it's like, you know, kind of slow, but that doesn't mean you can't have some fun. One of the best things about this car is, if you look down, is the gun sight at the end of the bonnet. You know, modern Mercs just don't have that theatre where, you know, you point that thing to the horizon and you just pop your right foot and the thing goes. So yeah, it's, the engine likes to rev, but the gearbox also likes to change up really flipping early. So there's a little bit of a clash of cultures there, but I'll pop it down. Here we go. Picks up speed pretty well. And actually the steering is beautifully weighted. You know, obviously it's not the modern electronic stuff, and that makes it great. You know, one of the things about this car is that it doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of power compared to a lot of modern cars, but you can use every last bit of it, right? So you can really push the thing around, and it's small and darty and it doesn't feel heavy. You can tell I'm getting excited. So it's really pretty good to drive, even though it's an old girl. I'm going to show you a little trick in a moment that I just learned quite recently on how to get more fun of this when you're pushing it around the back roads. So join me in a second. Okay, nice little slip road here. We're going to hold the car, show you how it can accelerate. It loves to rev. And the gearbox is really very smooth. It just likes to change up really quite soon. That's just a little blast in a straight line. Beautiful evening. Join me again in a second and I'll show you something a bit more interesting. Alright, so some twisty little roads here. Now I said I was going to show you a little trick that I learned. So you can hear the car here always wants to be in the highest gear that it can be. This is even when it's in so-called sport mode, right? But there is actually a trick, which is you knock the thing back into 3, right? And it will not change into top gear. Now I know that sounds kind of really a basic thing, but what it allows you to do is get the revs going on this bad boy as if you were driving a manual, but without the pain in the neck of having a dog leg shift. So you'll see, as I'm going around these corners, it would have changed up for me now. Good, this guy's going to get out of the way, even better. So now, this little section of corners, so you can push the car, it keeps the lower gear and allows you to just be a little bit quicker in and out of the corners. And so you can hear the engine is just keeping itself going there, 3,500, 4,000 revs. We're changed up by now. Let's do a little winding section here. Just get on it again. And now you're starting to hear the Cosworth engine, and it's, yeah, here we go. Just hold those revs on, let that thing rev out. Kick it on.